What's up, everybody? I'm Outlaw Morgan, and this channel is my brand new channel, OM Fishing. If you've already turned the red button gray by subscribing, thank you so much. Be sure that you hit the bell for notifications so when I produce new videos, you get an alert letting you know that the new video has already been uploaded, and you can go check out the content. But today, I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to talk about baits, I want to talk about my rigs and lures, etc. I was live the other night and a lot of people called in, to my surprise, asking me questions. What are my go-tos, etc. So we're going to talk about that. Stick around. So let's talk setups. If I was getting ready to run out of the door right now and go bank fishing, what is my go-to? What is the one rod, one reel combo that I'm going to run out of that door with and go hit the bank? It's going to be something like this. This is a 7'1" medium heavy rod made by 13 Fishing. This particular rod is called a Fate Black, even though it's neon green. And you don't have to have this particular rod, but I'm just making the case that I prefer nothing under 7 feet. And I prefer medium heavy. Now, as you can see, this is a bait caster, and a lot of people prefer spinning reel setups. I personally don't. I prefer the bait caster, and I only use spinning reels in certain applications, like drop shots or certain rigs or live bait, for example, something like that. Now, on this rig, just like most of my rigs, I am running a braided line. This is a 40-pound braid, and I pretty much won't throw anything less than 40-pound braids on any of my rigs, and here's why. Down here in Florida, there's a lot of vegetation under the water. There's a lot of vegetation on top of the water. And with fluorocarbon, there's some stretch, there's some give, and a lot of times you're trying to give that extra couple of seconds to let them gobble it so that you can set the hook. Now, a lot of times what happens is you gave them just enough time, there's enough stretch, they wrapped you up on some lily pads or some vegetation underneath, and you end up breaking off. So not only did you lose the fish, you lost your rig, and the only thing that you caught was heartache and depression. So with braided line, there's no give. The minute that thing eats it, wham, set hook, we're getting him out of the water as quickly as possible. And even if he does wrap you up, this is strong enough to probably pull the whole lily section up out of the water along with the fish. Even though we're talking about my go-to rig, I mean, back here I basically have everything covered. I have a 2X heavy, I have 2 other heavy rods. I mean, this thing right here, this thing is 8 foot long, is 2X heavy. So let's just say I was throwing a punching setup and I was going into some deep matting. And I've done this before. And I hooked a fish and I basically pulled out the whole matting towards the boat, dug out the fish. So you got to be prepared for every scenario, but today we're just talking about my go-to rigs, like if I'm bank fishing or whatever. And mostly, even on my boat, if I'm not punching, I'm probably just going to be throwing a medium heavy 40-pound braid bait caster setup. But let's talk about the baits that I use. So this is a little messy, but let's get down to business. If I'm going to be bank fishing, I'm going to have a tackle bag on me. I'm going to have a few different things. Now, the question was asked, what is my go-to? So if we're talking about if I had one bait that I could throw, one bait only, it would more than likely be this bait right here, which is the company's called Gambler. And this is a 5.25, so it's 5 1/4 inches long. It comes in various colors. It's a swim bait, obviously. It has a paddle tail. And this is one of my favorite baits to throw. There's a couple of different ways to throw this. Normally, I will hook this up with a swim bait hook, right? So this thing has a screw, and you can literally just screw the nose of the bait into the screw, and then you rig it. So I run it Texas rig, of course. Now, you have a couple of options if you're going to run this bait all day long. You can either A, put a weight on it with like a little bead and a bobber stopper, make it like it's chasing a bait. And then that way you can work water columns. What I tend to do a lot, although, is hook it up with the swim bait hook, no weight, so weightless. Let me tell you, I've missed more fish on these damn frogs than anything, because I get eager. I don't give them enough time to really gobble it, and I go to set the hook and end up pulling the frog out of his mouth. Don't get me wrong, this is a very, very fun. The pad crasher is a lot of fun, and when you hook, it's awesome. Top water blowups are awesome, but to reduce the misses, a lot of times I will run this weightless and throw it top water. But you can do both. Now, if you really want to have a lot of fun, what you can do is throw what's known as the Gambler Big Jeezy. This thing is 8 inches long. Now I have it paired with a swim bait hook. It's weightless as well. This is a 9.0. And this thing right here, whatever's going to come up out of the water and smash this is going to make your day. It's going to make your heart pump. It's going to make your adrenaline go crazy. And this thing right here is the kind of shit you would want to throw if you're looking to hit, say, a 10-pounder and up. Yeah, a dink's not hitting this. That's not going to happen. And same thing, you can throw this weightless and work the top water, or you can get a swim bait hook that has a weight right here on the actual hook itself. There's a weight, and that way to kind of keep it centered. You can drop the water columns or whatever. Now, that is a primary go-to, but like I said, everybody's going to have a bag of some sort, and they're going to carry more than just one piece of tackle. So here are the options that I would run with if I'm running banks. Another thing that I would consider doing is throwing something like this swim jig right here, which is a 6-cent swim jig. Let's see if we can get this thing in focus. There we go. So it's white and lavender. It's also got this right here, so it's weaveless. Now I have this in combination with a Rage Tail crawl, which is like reddish purple lavendery, weird color on the bottom, and then it's kind of like a June buggish on top. And these things are notorious for getting reaction bites. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier, where I said a bead and a bobber stopper, because when this thing's going through the water, this is moving, right? So it looks like it's chasing something. Now, you can actually move the bead up if you wanted and just have this thing going crazy like this. And then, of course, along with the skirt, a whole lot of action. Now, one of the beauties of something like this is that you can throw this all day. As long as you don't break off, you're not having to make too many adjustments. Once in a while, you'll have to set your trailer back up on the spring if it moves or slides around. But you can literally just throw this back to back to back to back to back and not have to worry about, re-rigging unless you break off. Or unless you wanted to re-rig. But something like this is always a go-to. Now, along with the jig here, you also have what's called a vibrating jig. I personally call these things chatterbaits. And it's the same scenario. Now, this one has like a bobblehead on it. It has the metal piece here so that as you're going through the water, this is creating a whole lot of vibration, a whole lot of water's moving. Gets a lot of attention, plus the skirt's going crazy, and this is kind of like a trailer on the back here. And same thing, you can throw this for hours. Now, if I'm on my boat, of course, I am going to rig up different rods for different things. Like, for example, this is actually, you see the string here, you saw the string on this one here. Those are actually coming off of rods that I already have them rigged up to. This is a 6-cent frog that I basically got from my buddy Ryan. Love you, buddy. I don't know if he meant to give it to me, but it ended up happening that way. And anyway, so this is a white frog. So I always have something rigged up with a frog on a Revo S that I have. That thing will send it like you've never seen. I can cover a lot of water. So I'll have something rigged up with a frog. I'll have a swim jig rigged up. I will have something like a Cinco style rigged up with a weight so that basically, I can work the bottom. Most places I fish down here in Florida, the water is only like 3 feet deep. Even in Kissimmee, I think the average depth is like 5 foot. So there's not a lot of deep areas to fish down here, which is why I use a lot of braid, because like I told you, you can get hung up and broke off. And here's another chatterbait. So again, if I were to have go-tos for, say, land fishing, bank fishing, it would definitely be the Big Easy, or I would also have the availability to rig up a Cinco style bait in case I wanted to work the bottom with a weight and bounce around Texas rig. Or I could even hook up something fatter like this Culprit Fat Max, which is a super nice reaction. You know, like this right here can produce some big fish. They also have different colors too. So these would be some of my go-tos. And then like I don't even know why I broke these out. Like I mean, you know, I could talk all day about fishing. I've got to apparently break these videos up. I don't want to overwhelm you with too much information in case you're just now getting into it. But you know, you got punch weights and different things like that. And we could even talk swim baits. I've done swim bait challenges on bank fishing where I went out and threw nothing but a swim bait all day. So it could go either way. But if we're talking about go-to style fishing, definitely something like this, something from this range in here, or even just the jig. You know, I am lazy. I don't want to spend my entire day re-rigging, having to deal with shit. So it's like I enjoy stuff like the jig because I could throw this all day. It's got just the right amount of weight where I can like cast out, pause, let it drop, let it hit the bottom. I can work the bottom, or it has just the proper weight where I can retrieve it in a medium speed and literally make it swim, and it will never touch the bottom. But it will find its way around, and you know, reaction bites are where it's at. Let me know in the comments below, what are you guys fishing with? What is your go-to rig? What are you using? Is it medium heavy? Is your setup like mine? Are you a spinning reel guy? Are you a bait caster guy? What's your go-to bait? What color are you throwing? You know, let's help each other learn, grow, and expand and become better at what we do. I don't have an issue with that, and I hope I answered the general questions that were being asked in the live the other night about my go-to baits, my go-to rigs. And if you've enjoyed it, be sure to like it, be sure to subscribe, and click the bell. I'll see you next time.